This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.
Hello everybody, it's Paul Neeson with the Raw Life Health Show. I just want to give you an update on my garden and basically the idea of food. It's not just about eating a raw food diet or a raw vegan diet. The quality of the food is just as important. And much of the food you get in the store today, the quality is just garbage. And you're paying for stuff that doesn't have what your body needs. And even though you're getting the food in your body, you're not getting the nutrients your body needs. And you're going to crave more food. You're going to end up overeating and also having deficiencies because you're not getting what your body needs. I do believe no matter what we eat today, no matter how good the quality of the food, we still need supplements because man has destroyed the soil and the food that comes from the soil so much today that we simply can't get everything we need from the food alone. But we need to still do the best we can do. And the best we can do is finding ways to get the highest quality food we can get. So if you live near a farmer's market and you know the farmer, maybe visit the farm and see how they're growing stuff. Organic is excellent for the cleanest food. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the most nutritional food. I met a farmer once who said his non-organic food was more nutritional than his organic food. But when you take into account the cleanliness of the food, I'd still choose organic over non-organic. And remember, supplements are an important part of this. Some people might say, well, if we need supplements, then something's wrong with the diet. Well, whether you're eating dead animals or you're eating fruits and vegetables, you still need supplements. And I'd rather eat beautiful fruits and vegetables and take supplements than eat carcasses and take supplements. But the best thing you could do possibly for your food is to grow it yourself. This way you know where it's coming from and you know everything about the situation with the food you're eating. So I have a garden, I have fruit trees, and now it's winter time here in South Florida. And it being winter time, it's time to put our garden in. Well, it's fall, I guess you would call it. So let me just show you a little bit of the update, a couple of changes I made in the garden, with the trees. I got rid of some trees and I put some banana trees in. But basically, I want to show you my garden today. And I just want to show you a couple of things I do. So let me flip the camera around here and just show you guys. All right, the first thing I want to show you today is my compost bins. So this is my compost bin here, and there's different types of compost bins out there. I should do a whole separate lecture on a compost bin, but this is called the Earth Machine. And where I live, this is the best one. There's one that's closed, and here's one that's open. Let me show you this one that's open. And that one's open because I just emptied it out. And basically, this is so great for me because I have raccoons and also other rodents where I live, and I don't just want to have an open compost system, and it's very close to the house. So this is closed. It's great. I put my scraps in there, my food scraps, and everything else I'm composting. And in about a year's later, I go at the bottom there, and I can get it out, and I use that soil for my garden. So that's one thing. We're going to see my gardens in a second. Another thing I want to show you is I juice on a regular basis, and I'll make separate videos on all these topics, but this is a moringa tree, and I can continue to cut it back, but it keeps growing. Every part of the moringa plant is edible. I sell moringa powder on my website. Every part is edible, but basically you just take these leaves, you can eat them, but I like to juice them and eat them, and it's great. So this is a moringa tree. And moringa is just a wonderful food. If you can't grow the tree, I recommend you get the powder from my website or any website. I don't care what you get. So here's, but make sure you get a clean one. There's a lot of that's sold is not clean. And so here's my coconut, one of my coconut trees right between my compost bins. I just added an extra compost bin. So I have 1, 2, and I just added the third one there. And so there used to be a lemon tree here. I took that out. It wasn't growing well. I put a banana tree. It's doing great. So the real purpose of this video today is, let me come here and show you all my gardens that I'm growing. Here's another banana tree I put in. This is a dwarf banana. I found the spot there for that. I used to not want to plant bananas, but I had bananas off of my other tree. I had maybe over 200 bananas on my unplanted bananas. These taste amazing. So much better than the ones you get in the store. So now I got 7 trees. So this is the last garden I put in here. Basically, I just dug up the dirt, put in some garden dirt and some composted dirt, And though this is my experimental garden, and that's what it's all about. It's about experimenting. As you can see, it's getting a good amount of sun. But this is my seeded garden. This is my first time actually planted from seeds directly in the ground. So I got tomatoes in those three things, and that's going to help the tomatoes grow, hopefully. And the ground here, I put carrots and beets. So that's my experimental seed garden. And this is all the food we're going to eat. I'm also putting my herbs not in the ground. I'm putting them in pots because I don't use as many herbs, and I don't want to take the space up with putting them in the ground. So I got some basil, different types of basil, and I think I have peppermint. So now here's the plants that I bought that were already started from the store. I got these from Home Depot. I got some broccoli. I got some two different types of cabbage. And in this ground, I have my compost. I have my compost soil, and I just flipped over the soil. Now here I have somebody in this garden bed here. Somebody brought me some horse manure that's been broken down from last year that I've had. So I put that in this garden bed, and I'm going to experiment with that and see how it goes there. So it's all an experiment, and the more I could see what grows best and where it grows best, the following year I could do better. So this area, I pulled up all this grass, and I was so excited because it was the best place I figured for a garden. And then what happened was I realized a septic tank was here, and I saw some articles online that it's not good to plant over a septic tank or in a drainage system. So I had to change my plans, and that's why I have the other gardens. So what I did to put here, right in front of my office window, is I put a gardenia plant. So I love the way a gardenia smells, so I have a gardenia plant there. And then I raised a bed up high, two cement blocks high. So even though it's in a drain field, if it's high enough, the roots don't go as long. So I planted some things in this raised bed here. I think this gets the most sun. And again, it's all an experiment to see, and each year we improve. So I have some arugula. I have some more cabbage. And here's what I planted from seed. I planted these Georgia collards from seeds. I planted these collards from seeds, and they're growing. This is the first time I'm actually planting stuff directly in the ground from seed, and I'm really excited to see it growing. And it's going to be much cheaper too if it works to do that in the future. And here's another potted peppermint kind of situation going on here. I have most of my peppermint here. But here's the problem I ran into, and this one's good. Last year, I had this whole yard. For the last 2 years, this whole yard here was my garden area. This whole yard for 2 years. But what I decided to do is, I decided to put some trees in and move my garden over there. Until I realized, hey, the septic tank's here, I can't do that. So what I did here is, last year I put a jackfruit tree right here. And I put a mango tree right here. So that pretty much is going to shade out the area, especially this mango tree. But it's not big yet, so I figured I'd try gardening in this area just to see how it goes. And I hit a cement block in the ground. It's just amazing. I didn't know it was there. I planted fine the last couple of years, but hitting that, I decided to dig it up. And maybe I'll break it, maybe not, but I planted just around it just to see how things grow. Because if I am going to use this area in the future, I'm going to have to move this mango tree. I don't necessarily want to move the mango tree, so I'll see how the garden does in the other areas. But for this year, I at least planted around it. I got some collards and some Swiss chard. I got cabbage over there in the back. And I put a tomato plant here just to see how it does in this area. And then over here, I have my tomato patch area. And by the time I did all these other gardens, I was so fed up. I didn't put any soil down or any compost down. But this area was used with horse manure the last couple of years, so it should be good enough. But I just dug it up and I put these tomato plants in, and I did have a sprinkler system here, which I'm in the process today. I'm actually going to add. I'm going to add some strip system to it, and that's my tomato patch. Eventually, this leachate tree will grow, and this area will be shaded, so I can't do that. But from my research, it's best not to just keep replanting in the same area, and it's a good idea to move it anyway. So I'll just all an experiment. What I did in the back here to my garden is I had a whole bunch of passion fruit back here, and I actually took that out, and now I have a bunch of banana trees growing, and they're growing very nicely. I'm excited about that. So that's my garden situation here. I got all these different varieties of tomatoes. And let me show you what I did in the front, because my first goal, let me flip this around and say hello. My first goal was to have only stuff I can eat, only edible stuff. But then I decided, let's get some color in here. And the only two plants I have on the property, and now it started raining, so I guess we'll go inside. My plants are actually getting, hold on. Now I don't have to water my plants today, good. But basically, the only non-edible plants that I wanted on my property was a lang-lang tree and a gardenia tree. I love lang-lang and I love gardenia. They both smell wonderful. The gardenia is more of a bush. I got 2 gardenias and the lang-lang tree. I got one. I might get another one. I just love the way a lang-lang tree smells. But just thinking about the situation and just looking at, I just changed my mind and I said, let me get some flowers. So I decided I'll get some flowers. And again, it's all an experiment to see what'll be better and to keep improving. But it's raining outside now. Let's see. So I can run to I'm in a screen patio right now. It just started raining. I'll run to the front of the house and finish this video. Let me show you this really cool papaya tree. Papayas come from just throwing the seeds on the ground. I mean, they weren't planted or anything. And look at all those papayas growing. The rain seems to stop a little, so I'll come on out of here. So look at that. So these are all papayas. Another important thing was for me to not have the trees too close to the house. This is the closest tree to the house. So no rodents or anyone gets up there or anything gets up there. So, but this papaya tree will definitely produce for 3 years or so, maybe 4, and then I could easily get rid of it if I wanted to. They're easy to grow. This must have grown in maybe 6 or 7 months, this tree here. So let me take you to the front of the house. Okay, the rain stopped. Let me take you to the front of the house and show you some more ideas that I'm just coming up with. And again, some people might say, well, you got the land, you can do that. I do not have a big plot of land. I'm doing this strategically. I mean, this is the biggest plot of land I've owned ever. But even in my townhouse that I used to have, I still planted 10 fruit trees in a garden. And that was on no land practically. Even when I lived in New York City, I used to sprout, and stuff. And where there's a will, there's a way, is what I'm telling you. So when I moved here, there were just a bunch of trees that were just a waste in front of the house. They shaded the house, but they were still a waste. I threw some papaya seeds in front of the house, and look, a papaya tree is growing. I'm not going to let that get any bigger because I don't want anything climbing on the roof. But here's what I just put in. I just finished this. This is just my plant garden. So the first thing I see is these beautiful plants when I walk in the house. And then I cleaned over this garden here. And that's called Mansa del Rosa. It tastes like pineapples and bananas. It's delicious. That's a miracle berry tree or plant. And that's another gardenia, again, right in front of my bedroom window. And I still got to clean up this area a little, but that's another Mansa del Rosa. And then I have my other trees here that you can see in my other videos. All my trees here. So, and then I have one more flower bed that I planted here. By the way, this is my lang lang tree. And it's right in front of my house. So I'll be able to smell it when I go to my house. And it was actually bigger, but we had a recent hurricane and I cut it before the hurricane. And so it didn't get messed up, and it's growing back. So I'm excited about that. And here's a little flower bed I just put in because there was a tree here. There was a stump like that one. See, that one's a little higher, so I can cut the grass around it. But this stump was lower, and it was really hard to mow the lawn in this area. So I decided to put a little garden around it. And I'm not an experienced gardener. I'm just working on practice. So 2 more things I'll show you here. Somebody dropped off for me a bunch of wood chips and horse poop. Wood chips and horse poop, mountains of it. And that I could put around my trees like I did over there. But I won't plant with this in a garden, in an edible garden, until next year, until it breaks down. but I have it to use. There's a mulberry tree back there. And then finally, I have this little area that I put some soil in, and I'll put some more compost in it. And this area is going to be a little herb garden. It's away from the street enough, and I try to continue to move away from the street as much as I can. All right, everybody, so there you have it. That is just a little view of some of the updates and changes I made to my garden. But as I was saying at the beginning of this video, grow as much food as you can. It's cheaper. You know where the food's coming from. The quality is going to be the highest quality if you're using composted soil and good soil. And it's the way to go. All right? So if you have comments or questions, post them below the video. But just don't let anyone tell you can't do this or something like this. And remember, again, too, where there's a will, there's a way. If you live in an apartment in a city, learn about sprouting. Sprouting is wonderful. Or microgreens. You can grow them on your counter. So, there's no excuses. There's no excuses. Don't let there be. And however you can do it, just do it. I know a lot of places in the city now have local gardens, like community gardens. They're turning old parking lots into gardens and stuff. And just find them and do them and join a local community garden. Or if you have a little piece of property, don't waste it with the lawn. Go and plant something, okay? It says in the Bible, plant gardens and eat the food they produce. Hallelujah. All right, everybody, have a great day and a great Raw Life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.